last speaker, I have to say, wow, what an unsung hero, an incredible human spirit. Thank you, Albi. That was amazing. Amazing. Now, I'm going to try in 18 minutes to share just a little of why I do what I do. And just before I start, I have to say for Occupy Nigeria, up Niger. Maybe a little provocative. I thought a lot about what I would come to say, and we speak every day of the week, and some of it's a lot of jargon, and what sort of an audience would I have? And I have to say, just a couple of years ago, I had a Long Island audience, and I just couldn't connect. I spoke and spoke and spoke, and I thought, I just can't connect. But today, I've just walked into this room, and I feel really very much at home. So we start with, I think many people recognize these pictures. They're not always the best, but I think the group of children in the corner there mean a lot, because that's who we're working for. We work for them every day that we have God's breath. So I started with, I don't know why it hasn't come up, but I have a question there. And the question that went across there was, why would we ever even bother about the plight of the poor? Why bother? And some of the answers that frequently we get, it's government's business. They're paying for their sins. Not my fault that they're poor. With corrupt leaders like ours, what can we do? And then we say, if they worked hard enough, they would be poor. What you can't see maybe on the screen that I see in front of me is that often we say, it's God's will. And that these are some of the things that, we deal with every day. And to be very frank, I didn't at first. I was born into a pretty privileged family. My mother was from the UK. She was a nurse. She married this Nigerian man who was studying, went back to Nigeria. The first thing they said to him was that we sent you to study. We didn't ask you to come and marry a white woman, so what is this? And then he got sent off to punishment station, Binding Kebbi, very far in the northwest. My mother thought it was fantastic. She's a nurse, and so she tended to people. He thought, what is this? 5 daughters is what he had, and that's not such a big deal in northern Nigeria. Where's the son? And I, the eldest of those 5 daughters, and that's me there with the head tie. So really privileged, Ajibota child. So much so that, as I grew up, went to school in Nigeria, then there was this opportunity to go abroad, and I said to my father, I want to go and do hotel and catering management in Italy. He said, fine, no problem. At the last minute, he said, for where? You have to go to ABU Zaria. And I thought, oh my God, over my dead body. I'm not going. That was the reality. So much so that, what I did? I said, I'm leaving. And he said, okay, if you have the money, go. Of course, I didn't have the money, but I was very stubborn. And so what I did was I bet people that I could walk from Kaduna to Zaria, 76 kilometers. They said, no, it's not possible. I said, okay, put your money down. They did. I got £4,000, and I went. I left and arrived in Europe. Didn't know really what to do, so I wandered around for 3 months with a train ticket. Eventually came back to see my mother in the UK, and I got a call one day after I did some more school, go project management. And my father said to me, okay, you need to come home. And I was, 22 then, and I thought, come home. To which job? And he said, I have to work for some foreign people. I can't just come home like that. Still, Ajibota child. And so he said, that's fine. I have a job for you in the American consulate in Kaduna. Come home. He sent the ticket. I went home. I landed. I said, okay, so where's the job? He said, for where? His daughter worked for Americans. No way. Real trouble. So I walked the streets, go looking for a job with architects and engineers, and I found one. And the journey began. And it began in a way in which, in northern Nigeria, working as a single woman was pretty tough. You'd have to get lots of guts up to walk into ministries where it was all just men, and sit there. They would look at you, and they'd say, okay, this Oyibo woman, Nasara, what has she come for? And you'd sit there quietly. They wouldn't realize you spoke the language, so you'd hear an awful lot of stuff. Eventually, you'd do the job you needed to do. But as I went through that 10, 11 years working for an architectural engineering firm, we designed and we built hospitals and schools. At the end of that 11 years, I thought, wow, these things are not working. Children are going into school. They think they're getting an education. They're coming out, no education. Women are going to give birth. It's a mortuary. Many of them are not coming out. And that's really when we began to care and say, why should we care? there's a moral imperative to it. Certainly I was brought up in a family that cared. My father cared for animals. He's a nomad. He was a vet. My mother was a nurse. So we were always human beings and animals, and everything mattered. So there is the moral imperative. There's development. There's the need. We should. Why not? I mean, these are the things that we put in front of us to say, why should we care? And I put some stuff up there. I think somebody made a speech, and somebody said to me, you know what, if you put this funny IT software, it'll come up with all these words. And when it did yesterday, I have to tell you, I didn't recognize very many of them except people, because people matter. And if people didn't matter, we wouldn't be here today. And I think that's what we have to remember, putting people first, the center of everything that we do. Because when we do that, our life is better for it. And that's why I get up and say, care. Okay, so we care. How do we act with the care that we have? With the skills that we have, and perhaps with not much that we have? How do we care? Care to action. So from caring to taking action, and it's unfortunate this has got so much of me in, but I'd like to say for every place that you see me, there's a whole lot of me's. There's a huge team. There's loads of people who worked with me to do the things that we tried to do where people said it is impossible. I left the private sector. There was a big problem in education. I joined civil society, made a lot of noise about how our government should have a plan for education for all. And they just said, you know, you need to make less noise now. Come and tell us how to do it. And that was a real dilemma. In civil society, if you leave to join government, what have you done? You've committed some kind of class suicide. But actually, you know, we discussed it. If we get in there, can we spread the virus? We should see it as that. Is it possible to do something like that? So we did that in 2000. We went into government and we tried to do what we could do. I was very busy trying to advocate for education. Then came along these things called the Millennium Development Goals. And to be frank, right at the very beginning, I thought they were awful. I thought, what? Millennium Development Goals, we've got EFA, there's 8 goals here that talk about literature and women and children and the girl child. And suddenly we reduced them to these 8 goals that are pretty minimalist. So I didn't like them in the beginning, so it was even more shocking when President Obasanjo got debt relief and said, Amina, you have to come and do the MDGs. And I thought, my God, I don't like them, so how am I going to do this? So I convinced him that I had a job in education, and you know what, this is good enough. I don't need to do these MDGs, and besides, goodness, go and work for the President Obasanjo at that. I was pretty, I wasn't so sure about that. So I was trying to convince him that this wasn't a good idea, that I already had a job, and I was working for the Minister of Education, and I hadn't finished my job. I hadn't finished the plan. And so therefore, I couldn't really come and do this advisor on MDGs. Well, OBJ, Baba, had another story. He said, how long is it going to take you? So I thought, if I say 6 months, he'll say, no, it's too long, go. So I said, 6 months. He said, that's no problem. You can have 2 husbands. So I lost again. But what I did do was engage with that opportunity. An opportunity in Nigeria to get in your hands $1 billion a year to spend on the poor. That is incredible. That is such a huge responsibility, and I have to say that Baba, OBJ, gave me free hand. But it was a responsibility that people thought we just couldn't do it. How can you spend $1 billion in Nigeria? A, you don't steal it. B, it really reaches where it's supposed to reach. And as I took the job, many people came up, please, you know, where are my contracts? You need to help me, you know, while you're there, just take small. It's not much. But for me, this was amazing. $1 billion to spend in Nigeria. Wonderful. And do it in government. Well, it was one thing to take a decision of whether you do what you would think you'd do, put it into a fund and spend it in that fund because you have control. That way nobody would steal it. But I think that that's defeatist. I think that the hard way is the best way. If government is to deliver service to its people, then that's what you have to fix. Amina Mohammed can just drop dead and die tomorrow and go away, as I have done. I've left that particular fund. What we need to do is fix government and demand that they deliver services as they're supposed to do. Give the rights to the people as they're supposed to do. Not easy, because you give up a lot. You give up time with your family. You take a lot of slurs. It's hard work. You bring people to work with you who also suffer, and you have to feel for them. And I had a great team, I have to say. But we acted. We went into the villages. When people said to me, yes, we built the water tower and the water is there, it's going to flow, I had to climb because I wanted to check that there was water in there. If you know Nigeria, there may be no water there. After a while, people began to expect that there would be somebody looking over their shoulder, and they started to deliver. And I think that's the good story. The good story is that you put the effort in, you practice what you preach, you force the issue that people have a responsibility when they take people's money, that it should be delivered and it should make a difference. And you start with the one. I think that my team did an amazing job in Nigeria. We did help to reduce maternal mortality by 30%. One woman surviving in childbirth is a big issue for me. One woman. But I know that we contributed to saving many. I know that over 40 million Nigerians got access to water because we were able to go around and we were able to see this. And we used civil society, we used Nigerians, professionals, young people who helped us do the work that we did. So I know we made a difference, but it is still just scratching the surface. And we did it against all odds. How? Because we put people first in the 36 states of Nigeria, 774 local governments. It can be done, and we need to go back there and to continue doing it. There's an opportunity now. I took some time out. I think after 3 presidents, many would say, wow, okay, so I should be retiring. But I'm not, because the job is not yet done. We set up our center. We wanted to advocate more. We did an awful lot with trying to ensure there was a good transition. There is. Our program is still working. But then I thought, let me teach. I've never taught in my life. And off I went to Columbia. Actually, I wanted to do another master's, and they said to me, no, can you teach? And I did. Young people, great people, until the Secretary General said, come and design the next development agenda. And I didn't really want to do that because we haven't finished with the existing one. And many people will say, well, it's not done so well anyway. But it has. Whether the glass is half full or quarter full, it is some full. There's a lot more to do, and it's for us to try to fill that glass and to do it any which way we know to make sure that those over 1 billion people that are poor are no longer poor. That's what we need to do. So the global agenda for post-2015 is what really I speak to you about today, because I think it's important that we engage. What we have today is a world that is very different from 2000. There's more conflict, migration, a youth bulge. By the way, young people, the aged are going to be more than you shortly. So think about, what are you going to do with a world that has more old people than it has young? There are so many challenges coming in the next 15 to 20 years, and we need to engage with that. Development is no longer an issue of the global south. It is an issue of global north, south, east, and west. It is a world issue, and we need to engage with it. Don't leave it just to others to do. And there's an opportunity now. At the UN, we've got 3 leaders. We've got our president from Liberia, very passionate about this, leading a cause to help put the new framework for the next development agenda. So too the president of Indonesia and our prime minister from the UK. So the UN is trying to put something forward. But there are lots of cynics. There are lots of people who say they can't work. They failed in so many places. Is it the UN that's going to do it alone? No, it's not. Certainly not. We have to get involved. Everybody in here can get involved in one way or another. And nothing is too small. If you're a doctor and you spend 3 months in wherever of the world trying to make a difference and you come home, that's fine. If you decide to go home fully, that's fine too. But it is important that you engage. It's important that you get involved in this conversation, because the next development agenda cannot be set by the global north for the global south. It must be set by all of us in this room, whether we are from Serbia, we are from Ghana, we are from India. It has to be set by all of us. And I will say that it is young people that are going to drive that, because you're going to be doing the heavy lifting. People like us will be supporting you by then. But you'll be doing the heavy lifting. And this is, for me, one of the most important challenges that we have, because people really don't know how to get involved and feel that it may just be a waste of time, but it isn't. Determined people, as they say, can change the course of history. And we've seen it all over. We're going to have, I think, 12, 13 more speakers, and they're going to show you just how they've done that. I'm just one of those that I feel in terribly good company, and I'm probably at the bottom there somewhere. But so what I'd like to say in the last 3 minutes is that we need to take the bat and continue the legacy. We talk about great people. Those great people started from small beginnings, and they lived their lives and they brought tsunami loads of people with them. Many unsung heroes that we never hear about. We're just privileged today to speak to you a little about it. But what's important is for us to continue that legacy. And how do we do it in our individual ways? How do we be the change that we want to see? Which is what Gandhi has said to us, which is what many people, as I looked at this picture, I thought, oh my goodness, there's only Madiba standing. So we need to carry these batons, and batons that are heavy. We can do them together. I often think that, I don't want to be in a situation where I have young people behind me waiting for me either to get too old and decrepit to say anything before I move over, but that, very quickly that they are able to take that baton. They're able to do the things that we need to do, to show the leadership that we don't have today. We have very little leadership today. And we need to stand up and be counted. We need to be courageous. We need to practice what we preach really. And we need to bring people along with us. And I think this is some of what, maybe a little of what I have to say today. But the new development agenda is important. Don't leave it behind. It affects every single one of us. Young people today need to get engaged. They need to understand that tomorrow is a better place, but it will be even better if you get involved with it. Nothing, as they say, no free lunch. No free lunch. And I hope that you'll join me in doing what I do and hope that we finish well. Thank you.